Hello, welcome to Luigi's Gaming Lounge. This is Luigi 8 Mario, and today we are recording episode 44. And today I'm also joined by Trip Hazard, aka
Barnaby. Hello.
I'm joined by Terrors, aka
Sam. Hello.
And I'm joined by Out of Time Ecto 1, aka
Andy. Hello.
Hello, guys. So, this episode we are going to discuss whilst it's fresh. Yesterday's, which was the 9th of March, State of Play, which saw some new IPs and some old ones as well coming through. Barnaby, I know you've got some stuff sort of ready to tell us. Just before we do that, I really like the look of the Trek to Yomi. Is that the one? Yeah,
Yep.
It looks really cool. It sort of took me by surprise because I'm not usually, those sort of style of games don't usually interest me, but I don't know, something about that game piqued my interest. However, I'll pass it over to you and let us know what you think.
Yeah, so Trek to Yomi does look very interesting. Firstly of all, it's completely in black and white from what I can tell, which is an interesting design choice. Also, it's in the sort of traditional samurai genre, so none of this waifu Matrix-esque malarkey. It does seem to be quite hardcore, modestly authentic Japanese sword fighting. The gameplay style as well seems to be fairly almost like 2.5D, in that the backgrounds are 3D, but a lot of it, the action seems to occur just on one plane. So you're either moving backwards to forwards, or you're moving left to right, rather than being a free roaming game. But that's no bad thing, and that could suit the design, the gameplay, quite well. I think they do need to tweak the visuals slightly because, to my eye, they look a little bit washed out, and there's not quite enough contrast between the lighter and the darker shades of grey. But yeah, it's a very interesting high concept title, and looking forward to seeing how that turns out.
Definitely, and one thing to note on that is it is being released on the Game Pass, which I know this is a PlayStation event, but I saw that information earlier on today, so happy days for me and everybody else that's looking forward to it.
It looks, from what I can see as well, it doesn't look very demanding on for PC players either. So it looks like it's coming to Steam, and the minimum requirements are pretty low. So that'll be good. It's, they're opening up to a wider audience on the PC front. So to people who haven't got higher-end machines like some of these new games, they're sort of starting to get very GPU and CPU hungry, aren't they? So if you've not got some of the latest stuff, you're starting to see some struggles. But this looks looks like it'd be pretty good.
Yeah. And have you got any thoughts on that game, or?
I'll be honest, I haven't even looked at it. But from what I've just heard, I agree with Barney. I do like the idea of sort of thinking outside the box, art style wise. That's I always like it when they developers do something a little bit different. I can't even sit on the fence because I haven't done my research. So I'm a bad lounger today, I'm afraid.
No worries, we'll let you off. We'll let you off today.
I've got the I do have to say I do like a good Japanese game, to be honest. Fan of Ninja Gaiden, fan of Shenmue, and that kind of stuff. And I know this does look a little bit, obviously it's not quite like those, but it's a Japanese title nonetheless. So I think I would probably find myself. I'm hoping there's like a demo of some sort, or a beta or something we can try, because I would very much like to at least give it a go.
Yeah, fair enough. Barnaby, have you got any criticism for any of those games shown last night?
Yes. So I do hate to burst your bubble, but Exo Primal doesn't particularly interest me at the moment.
Okay.
It probably would have done about 5 to 10 years ago, but I think that sort of shooter, the sort of like shooter or team of shooters against like hordes of monsters.
Yeah.
you have to do that in a very innovative way nowadays, because that has been done a lot over the past 10 years. And it is fun for a little while, but it can get repetitive. So I think developers have to pull out all the stops. And from the footage that I've seen so far, it doesn't really push the envelope far enough, I think, in my mind, to be appealing enough. And I've no doubt that it'll be a good game, but it'll be a good game amongst a sea of good games.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Much more interest to me is Ghostwire Tokyo.
Okay, yeah, I did see that. It does look quite impressive. Not really my cup of tea, I wouldn't say. I would say.
See, we've gone in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Our paths have split.
Yeah. I mean, what interests you about that? I mean, I do know...
It's just the style of it, really. I'm reading up a little bit about it. It's actually being developed by Shinji Mikami's new studio, Tango. And he was the director of the first Resident Evil game. And Tango actually also developed The Evil Within. Although this is a completely different genre.
Luigi's
It's still
just gone straight off it. You put the fear into Luigi.
I think he's passed out, hasn't he?
Who, me?
Yeah.
What's that?
You mentioned Evil Within. That's it. That you've switched off now.
Oh, yeah. I'm no good for anything now.
Is Exo Primal, is it PlayStation exclusive?
Multi-format.
Yeah, multi-format.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything apart from Switch.
Shock horror.
Well, yeah. Although, to be honest with you, I wouldn't probably buy it or play it anyway. But
No, fair enough. Now, one game that I think a lot of people are going to be excited for is going to be the Final Fantasy title.
Stranger of Paradise.
That's the one. Now, shock horror. I've never played a Final Fantasy game. Don't shoot me.
Luigi.
But again, it's one of those games.
I don't think you would play it, mate.
No, it's not. It's never appealed to me. Like, it's never ever appealed to me. So, I mean, I
Chocobos
You've
in
got
Final Fantasy VII. They're iconic. Is it number 7 the Chocobos are in?
Yeah, I think they might have even appeared.
You'll love
Google-
them. They're
Google's
fluffy
your
little
phone.
animals.
oh
They're,
yeah,
they're giant ducks.
giant ducks. So I take it there's something absolutely frightening.
No, it's a complete opposite, which is why I think you'll like it. They're really just cute animals.
Okay.
Chocobos, like Barney says, Google it.
Are you guys taking the mick now?
Honestly,
No.
you're not going to get scared. Just Google Chocobo, and they're an iconic animal from the Final Fantasy series.
Chocobo. What the heck is that? It's like a chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
What is that?
It's
Play
a
the
giant
game,
chicken
find
that you ride around on.
That's your key, mate, to playing Final Fantasy. That's what that is.
No. Do you know, I do feel terrible because a lot of these sort of Japanese style games, which Final Fantasy is, for example, a lot of them I just don't, it's just not my style of game. It's not stuff that I enjoy. Don't get me wrong though, Shenmue 2, I fell in love with that on the Dreamcast when I played that. But again, that's it. I think it's the whole fantasy.
Shenmue's a really good game.
Yeah, Shenmue's brilliant, but I think the thing that puts me off a lot with the Japanese style games is a lot of them are very much fantasy based, and I don't know, I just can't really get into that. I like with Shenmue, it is a lot more sort of realistic as such, isn't it? In comparison to something like Final Fantasy, let's say. But yeah, it's just something I really struggle to. It struggles to keep my attention, basically. Shall I put it like that? Even watching the trailers to those style of games. I don't get me wrong though. I know they're well loved by a lot of people. It's just my personal preference. It's not something that piques me interest. The Turtles game, which lists, it's like the collection, isn't it?
That does appeal to me.
I thought that might. Yeah, I can't remember. I did put a list on Instagram How many games are included?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Cowabunga collection, isn't it?
That's it, the Cowabunga collection. Let's have a little look-see here. Okay, so... okay. You're getting a compilation featuring every single 8-bit, 16-bit and arcade release, including their Japanese variations published by Konami. That's a total of 13 different games and all their regional releases. Now that's pretty good going, to be fair, especially if you're somebody that enjoys those sort of style.
Me and Barney smashed out and completed the original arcade game the other week.
Oh, really?
Indeed.
Yeah, true story. Barney came round, we loaded it up.
How long did that take you?
Oh, not long, was it?
Not massive. Maybe about 45 minutes, I think.
Oh, okay. Not long at all.
Yeah, well, arcade games are never meant for long stints.
No, true. That is true.
To still rob the money off you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, is that something that you guys are likely to pick up at some point? I'm guessing, Andy, that's a yes from you.
I could say yes. Realistically, no, because I'm cheap and tight, and I probably have them all already.
Oh, okay.
On like various formats and things. However, I do think it's a great release. I think it's a very nice package. I think
in one thing.
I forget the company who's responsible for putting it all together, but they've got a bit of weight behind them. They've done sort of like SNK releases and stuff in the past, so they're quite a reputable firm to put the packages together.
Yeah.
The fact they're doing regional releases is quite a nice thing as well. You've obviously got the different games for the different formats as well. So, for example, Tournament Fighters, they're giving you the Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version, which again they needn't, but you get to see that like the color saturation is probably a million times better on the SNES and stuff. And Turtles, generally, I've played a fair few Turtles games in my time, and there's a couple of rotten eggs, but they're pretty decent titles. Like, I really like the original arcade series games. The original ones on the NES I quite enjoyed. Tournament Fighters was a pretty decent beat-em-up game.
Yeah.
So I think if you are either a fan of the IP Turtles, or you are in touch with your youth and you like there's nostalgic value, as long as it's priced at a decent price point, I think it's a decent buy for most people, unless you are running ROMs and things like that, and then it's a pointless exercise.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm just going to quickly run through the other games that sort of got shown yesterday on the State of Play. So it says here that there's the game, I'm going to try and say this without butchering it, Valkyrie Elysium, which is due out this year, RPG action game, and also let's have a look here, strategy RPG called the Diofield Chronicle. One that I think that's going to be anticipated is the update that's coming to the game Returnal. Have you guys heard of this game, Returnal?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's getting an update called the Ascension update, and that brings campaign co-op and a new survival mode, and that's via a free patch this month.
That does look quite good. I've not played the original Returnal, but no, that does look quite good, quite interesting.
Yeah,
might tempt me, and especially I always like games that add a co-op mode as well.
Yeah,
can't go wrong with some nice co-op.
You cannot. That's right. Not enough games have them, but it seems to be making. It does seem to be making a comeback, which is obviously only
a co-op
good.
comeback.
Exactly. Okay, so also announced yesterday was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R is a remake of 2013 fighting game JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle, and that's due out early autumn.
Also used to be on the Dreamcast, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I was going to say the logo looked familiar, where it's showing JoJo's, but I weren't sure where I'd seen that before, so possibly might have been there.
Yeah, I think it's based on cult fan favourite anime and manga.
Oh, okay. Also, as well, yesterday we saw Gigabash, which is... I don't know how to pronounce that. It's Kaiju.
Kaiju.
Kaiju Brawler.
Kaiju. So kaiju is just a term in general for monsters like Godzilla.
Oh, okay. So that's a Kaiju Brawler, which is due out this year. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it does look fun, but yeah, short-lived. But yeah, it does look fun.
Yeah.
Luigi, have you ever watched the film Pacific Rim?
No.
What's that? Because
Right.
they have to fight kaijus.
Oh,
and then you can
okay.
get them. But the terms are all used throughout that film, and like Barney says, they're just any of the big beasts.
Right, got you. Okay.
But it's a pretty cool film.
That's been a film for a long time on my to-watch list, and it's just getting longer and
It
longer.
is a decent film.
I still
Yeah,
haven't...
I recommend it.
I still haven't watched Ready Player One. I need to...
We need to educate the boy, Andy.
I need to sit and watch that.
Calls himself a game.
Another one on State of Play yesterday was they showed a trailer for Gundam Evolution, which is out later this year. I've never played a Gundam game, but I know they're quite popular.
Well, I think this one is kind of like cashing in on the PvP FPS genre.
Okay.
Because a lot of the previous Gundam games, to my mind, were not FPSs.
Right. So it's a bit of a quick cash cow sort of job.
Possibly. It might be decent. I had a quick look at the trailer. Looks okay. But again, it's got to compete with some big boys in the FPS arena. So I think it might get lost in the crowd. But if it brings something innovative to the table, I'm all for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
One good thing about it, I think you can actually choose a mech that has a shield, for example. And shields always seem to be underutilized in FPS games. I know they do feature, but they've never really been used to the full potential, I think.
I've got to say, just whilst you mention shield, because I have been playing Halo today, and I'm on like the last mission, and throughout the whole game I've not really, like, because you've got different sort of things that you can use, like sensors and thrusts and shield and whatnot. I've not really touched the shield much, but on this last sort of mission, it has been a lifesaver using the shield. Literally a lifesaver using the shield. So
that's how it should be. Yeah, as I said, I think the shields are a really interesting mechanic, and they're underutilized in a lot of FPSs.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely felt that today. So we also saw a new trailer for Square Enix's recently delayed Forspoken last night. I don't know if you guys.
That's another interesting looking one. Very balletic third-person action game.
Yeah,
you're gonna like fly across the landscape and fly through enemies, essentially dealing damage. So yeah, it looks impressive. Don't know how the gameplay will turn out, but yeah, it looks good. And
the others we've already mentioned. Obviously, the Final Fantasy game, Stranger of Paradise, Ghostwire Tokyo. You didn't mention much on that, because I think we sort of veered off.
It's a FPS game where you use a combination of magic and martial arts to defeat ghosts and demons. I think it is all set in Tokyo, and by the same developer who developed. Forgotten what I was saying now.
Same developer
who developed that horror game that you don't like to play.
Oh, Evil Within.
The Evil Within, that's it. Right on the tip of my tongue. But yes, although it has horror elements, it is definitely more of an action game. So it does look interesting. I like the different setting there.
Yeah.
Because it's a more unusual setting, and I think they're trying to do something different. It doesn't look like other action games out there.
Yeah. No,
so,
that's that game, Ghostwire Tokyo. That is a game that I keep hearing, when I'm sort of looking up gaming news and listening to other podcasts and stuff like that, that does seem to have quite a buzz around it. So yeah, it seems like it's going to be hopefully a good game for people. It's probably not something that I will look to play at any point, but that's just me. But no, I mentioned about Halo. One thing I know I mentioned to you guys, and I just want to mention it for the people listening at home. Unfortunately, they have had to delay the co-op for the co-op campaign yet again, which I know is frustrating because I've been really looking forward to being able to sort of jump into that world, the Halo Infinite world, with friends. It is frustrating, and you can argue that everything should have been ready from release date, but again, it's one of those things. I just think I'd rather them, if it's not ready, do not release it. Just take your time, so that when it is released, it just works. There's nothing worse than jumping into something and it's buggy as hell. And I'm sure you guys agree. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah. Don't just
all
release
too
it.
often that happens, especially even with AAA titles nowadays. When I think really a lot of players would appreciate it more and actually give higher review scores if you just held it back for another 3 months or 6 months or however long it takes.
Yeah.
Just to give it that final polish, iron out any bugs.
Unless it's Cyberpunk.
In which case it takes 2 years to do anything.
Yeah, well, there is that. But no, I mean, I think... Well, what's that, Sam?
I was going to say, well, what happened... it's quite ironic, wasn't it? They're like, we're delaying it because it's not ready, and then they bring it out and it's just a complete mess still. Whatever. It's just like, so you delayed it and now it's still a mess. Like, it couldn't have gone any worse.
Wow. What can you do? But no, I really do think they've sort of made the correct decision in terms of, they seem to be focusing on trying to make content for multiplayer as well, side by side with co-op. But the thing is, if they just sort of dropped everything on multiplayer and just put it all into co-op, people are going to moan, you're not going to keep the multiplayer side of things, people aren't going to be happy, are they? So I think it's only right that co-op gets pushed back a little while, and hopefully when it does come out, we will have a very nice experience. I know you guys haven't played too much of Halo, but I've got to say, like I said, today I'm on the last... I haven't completed it yet, but I am on the last mission. I am playing on Legendary, and it is damn hard, let me tell you. I've contemplated many times putting the level down, the difficulty level, but then I'm just like, no, because if I do that, I won't unlock the achievement for it. And I've stuck through, and listening to other people who have played it, it seems like they've completed it fairly quickly, but then they're not playing it on Legendary. And I've been playing it on Legendary for quite a while now, and I'm like, blimey, as much as I'm enjoying the game, it's like, when do I reach the end? Not in a bad way, just because I know so many people now that have completed the game, and I've yet to complete it. So I'm just a bit jealous, that's all.
Just not good enough.
No, I tell you,
we're just getting worse with age.
I know, but this is why as well. When we had Tony Lisa on the show last week, obviously she's a big fan of Souls style games. I mentioned for me personally, obviously playing Halo and Legendary, there's battles within the campaign that I died so many times. So for me that was that was like a grind, but it was a grind that I was happy
That's
to
like
do.
the start menu of the Dark Souls games, you realise?
more than likely. But no, it's a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, I've not enjoyed a game like that for quite some time, and I mean, as you guys know, I pick up games and put them down with ease. But you know, this is one that I'm right at the end. I've nearly completed it, guys. So be happy for me.
Hey.
No, but other than that, I think like I said, they've pushed as well season 2 of the Halo multiplayer. That's been pushed back. So I think it's going to end up being like 6 months, and that's a long season, isn't it? A long season. I mean, it is hard to say. I mean, a lot of people are also saying, oh, you know, when it did release officially in December, people are saying that it shouldn't have happened, like, because obviously there's no co-op mode in campaign. There's been so many issues with the multiplayer. Now, I'm not slating it, because again, I have a really good time with the game. Would they have benefited from, you know, releasing possibly this year? And I think yes. I think, you know, we could have waited. I mean, it's difficult because Halo was supposed to be a release title for the Series X, but I don't know. I just really hope that they're not damaging Halo any further, basically, because it's a good game. I just don't want to happen what happens to a lot of games these days, and by the time it's all sorted and everyone, you know, what everyone wants to do with it, by then they forget about it and they're like, oh yeah, no, that time's passed.
I don't think Halo will suffer with that problem. No, I think I mean, obviously it's got a hardcore following anyway. But I just feel that I mean, I think this latest Halo, I think it's, you know, I've only played it a little bit, but I think it's really, really good. You know, and to be honest, like, you got to think how long Halo's been around for. Don't get me wrong, not all the games have been amazing, but I think that this latest one really stepped up again, and you know, it's kind of given you that nostalgic feel. It's got that nostalgic classic Halo feel to it, which I do think, you know, I think going forward, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I feel like they'd have to do something really. They'd have to cock it up real bad for that to happen.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I say, hopefully all goes well. And it's just because I have seen some figures of like the player base, and it has dropped for a fair amount. But I suppose it does after. I mean, it has been out since the multiplayer came out. I think it dropped in November. So it's been out a little while now. So I suppose, you know, after that first initial hype, the player count will drop a bit, won't it? That sort of thing.
Yeah, it always does. Like, you know, you always get your peak players in the first 30 days.
Yeah.
And then usually by the 90-day mark, it tends to level out. And you'll probably find that after 90 days, it will be pretty much around the same sort of numbers, unless, like I say, you know, but if it's just awful, it's just going to drop off or whatever. But yeah, if it's a half decent game or a decent game, then yeah, your first 30 days peak. And when you get to the end of your 90 days, it's usually then levels out, and that's kind of what the player count is over the next few months. It always tends to seem like to drop off a bit, unless they bring out some new content, like within a short space of time. But yeah, it's pretty standard. But if you're holding on, you know, say it's been out 6 months, and the last three out of those 6 months. If you look back on the last 3 months and you've got steady player count, that's usually a good sign that it's, you know, obviously unless it's a low steady count, obviously not so great, but you know, in terms of a percentage, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd say that you usually have around, let's just say the first month will pass that as 100% player base, and then usually that drops off by probably 30%, usually quite a significant drop, 30-40%, and then you may see another 20% reduction after that, maybe, and then it just kind of levels out at those sort of figures. But
Yeah.
again, it does depend on the game.
Yeah, fair enough. Going back to last week's episode in regards to Elden Ring, now I've seen again so many people are enjoying this game. Now, one of the big things with this game is you can't pause the game. But have you guys seen that somebody has worked a workaround about pausing the game?
On console?
Yes. Yeah. Well, any.
What do you mean? You can't pause the game? Did you say?
It's got live pause, so the pause menu pops up, but it still runs in the background.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So
Yep.
you still get killed and savaged even if you
Yep.
keep it.
So there's
If you open, does that include if you open your inventory?
Yep.
So
It's brutal.
yeah.
Yeah.
So no, somebody's found that I believe it's like there's a section on there where you can select like a help button, and then when you select it, that's the only time that the actual game itself comes to a standstill. I was watching it earlier and I found it quite funny actually, that somebody's obviously taken their time to find that workaround. But yeah, no, I just thought I'd let people out there know that. So look into it if that's something that's stressing you out, because I'm
sure From Software is going to be patching that out soon.
Well, you see, because
they've got a reputation to maintain.
Well, true, but I've seen on these like dad gaming pages that I'm on Facebook. There's quite a few, gamer dads who have like very young children, and they're like, saying about Elden Ring and how difficult it is to actually be able to play that game, having like a young family, because obviously, if with all young children, you do have to sort of just drop what you're doing half of the time to make sure that they're safe and they're not hurting themselves. And in that time on the game, your character's, going to be savaged to death. So, yeah, so it might be a little bit of a help.
That just adds to like the moral dimension of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you continue playing, or do you let your child die?
Oh no, we can't be asking that. So, guys, I think what we're going to do, we're going to move on to our favourite part of the episode, which is Trash or Stash. This week's Trash or Stash, are you guys ready for it? Sam, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I'm ready, bud. Don't you worry. I'm always ready for Trash or Stash.
Ready.
He was born ready.
Exactly.
Listen to that.
That's true, mate. I can say anything, and it's going to be better than what yours is going to be.
True.
I'm not worried, mate. You should be worried about Trash or Stash, not me, bud.
Although he picked
had an okay
games
one last week. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. What was it?
It was EA Hockey.
What, in your stash?
Yes.
That's
It's a good game.
Oh, no.
EA Hockey on the Sega Mega Drive it was last
I
week.
can't say I've ever heard of that winning any awards, but
Right, well,
might be wrong. Anyway, let's not digress on last week. Let's see what lovely number you've picked this time round.
right, so this week it's a game that I've expressed my love for previously, quite near the beginning of Luigi's Gaming Lounge podcast, and that is LAPD Future Cop, which is on the PlayStation 1, and I believe it came out on Dreamcast, if I'm not wrong. And also Andy and Barnaby, as far as I'm aware, and I can remember, you guys haven't played it, have you?
I think I own it, but I haven't played it, yes.
Oh, you need to play it. You need to play. Honestly, and it has such a good co-op mode on there as well. Not co-op, well, versus mode, should I say. It's such a good game, and I genuinely believe both you, Barney, and Andy, you would really enjoy this game. I honestly believe. But yeah, it's a game from my childhood. I spent a heck of a lot of time playing this game, so it's worthy to go in my stash. And also, let me just say, it is in my stash because I do have the physical copy. When I was selling a load of my PlayStation 1 titles that I'd built up, that was one of those that I couldn't part with, basically. So yeah, so that is part of my stash.
Cool.
Pretty good.
Oh, that is an interesting choice.
Yeah. Sam, would you like to go next?
Can do, bud. So, my stash is a game called True Crime Streets of LA.
Oh, yes.
That one.
A lot of people didn't like it, but I thought that was brilliant.
I thought it was awesome. To be honest. So, for those that don't know, True Crime Streets of LA came out in the early 2000s on the GameCube, original Xbox, PlayStation 2. I had it on the GameCube. I'm sure I did. Yeah, I'm sure I had it on the GameCube. It was not the original Xbox or the GameCube, but I'm pretty sure it was a GameCube. And effectively, it was one of the first kind of open world games that was similar to Grand Theft Auto in the sense of how it kind of, how you could kind of roam around and, like effectively as you can on GTA with like, taking cars and all that kind of stuff. And what the storyline was, you were basically a detective, and your father was, I think he was murdered or he went missing or something like that, and it was like an unsolved case, and you basically joined the force, and then you basically, you kind of trying to work out what's happened to your dad and blah blah blah. But it's like really really cool. Like it just, some of the fight scenes in it, like it just had a good storyline. It kind of from the off, you kind of like after the first mission, you were kind of hooked, and you were like, yeah, I want to play this. Like this is like, really cool. And it kind of brought in what GTA didn't, where it was kind of like, it was a bit unrealistic in the sense of like some of the combat and some of the stuff you could do in it. It kind of made it a bit more fun play, really. And like it was just a solid game. I think there was a follow-up game from it. I can't remember what that one was
True
called.
Crime Streets of New York. I loved that.
See, I didn't play that, and I'm not sure how good the reviews were of that one. But Streets of LA was, the original one, and that was really good. Luigi, you sound like you played it as well. So.
Yeah, the True Crime games, the LA and the New York, they, again, they're a game from my childhood, from my teenage years, which I absolutely I adored them. I think in the first one, the LA one, the things that I loved the most was, I don't know if you remember, Sam, but you could actually just pat down just any random civilian. You could just walk up to them and pat them down.
I remember it added a few little bits in there that we were sort of seeing almost for maybe not necessarily the first time, but certainly like some of the first, like to kind of implement those kind of things into open world games. And it was like, you felt like you were free to do. I mean, you could do it in GTA, obviously, but it was kind of like, it was like GTA, but you were the cop. But it was like a GTA style cop game, which was like really really cool. And
if I'm
it
not
was like
wrong,
you weren't a dirty cop, but you were like you didn't mind sort of like you did what had to be done to get the job done or to find out the information you needed. Do you know what I mean? So you were kind of like a bit of a.
I think as well, there's probably a lot of mileage in that genre because we've had like the open world GTA games and also the kind of knockoffs of that, but we haven't really had as many open world cop games. You could
probably,
take it down the direction of like good cop, bad cop. So do you accept bribes?
Do you do
little favours for your buddies?
That is what it was like.
Play
But
it clean and straight.
I don't know if you guys have played Sleeping Dogs, but that Sleeping Dogs was actually...
I do remember it, but I never played it.
Oh, Sleeping Dogs is fantastic, and then I realised why, because Sleeping Dogs is actually what was going to be the next true crime game. But then
right.
for whatever reason, obviously it got named Sleeping Dogs, and that has the same element. You have like good karma, bad karma sort of thing, and just you know, if you arrest somebody or you kill them, obviously it chooses between like the good and bad karma, and you can choose to basically do good or bad, and it just plays a massive part in the game. And it's basically set in Hong Kong, I believe, and fantastic game. If you've not played Sleeping Dogs, even to this day, I say play it, because that's a game that I've completed twice, almost 3 times. I've played through twice, and then I have actually done a part of a third playthrough. Fantastic game.
Was sorry, just before we move on, was True Crime off the top of my head? Because I know I've obviously put it in my stash, and the reason is I do have very good memories of playing it, and I know I really liked it. And I haven't played it for so long, so I am just trying to remember. But in the combat side of it, am I right in saying you could turn on a slow-mo and you could do a side jump and it would go into bullet time, or is that not?
I believe so.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah, because it had this progression system where you could unlock, I think you had skill points and you could unlock certain things, different it was different moves, and it was kind of because there was only really, in terms of the open world style of games, from memory, I know Driver 2 was around, and Driver 3 was around on the Xbox. That was pretty good, but it was the only thing, in my opinion, that was kind of close to and as fun as what GTA was at the time. That's in my stack. That's a really good shout.
Yeah, and anyone that's not played it, although I understand you may not be able to necessarily download it, but well worth just going on YouTube and having a look at some videos, and maybe even watching a playthrough or something, because a really, really good game.
Yeah, just before we move on from that, I do just want to reiterate, because it is such a big part of that game that sticks in my mind, the part about literally, just walking the street, for example, and you can just pat people down, and it will, you can find drugs on people, you can find weapons on people. I believe you could even search people's boots of their vehicles as well, if I'm not wrong. So for me, that was the first time I'd ever seen that sort of system in a game.
It feels like there's a market for that particular, like Barney was sort of touching on that.
Definitely,
there could well be a market.
Underutilized, underutilized. There's a lot you could do with the GTA style of open world games, and my first thoughts was, you could play a cop and then choose to either be a good cop or a bad cop.
One of the most popular mods for GTA 5 is the Los Santos police force mod, which you play an officer within the Los Santos police in the Grand Theft Auto 5 world, and for good reason as well. I've been looking at some videos on it, and it looks amazing. It shows that other side within that game, even though it's the same game. It's showing you another side of that city, and
and I think that is the strength of open world, is because when you have a living, breathing world, you can almost take control of any character and make it a different adventure, because you've got a different perspective.
No, definitely. But thank you very much for your stash, Sam. We spoke on that quite a bit, so it's definitely a good one. Barnaby, did you want to throw us your stash next?
I've gone for my usual theme of picking 2 associated games. So both of my games are PlayStation 1 even, light gun shooters. And it's a dying genre, because they only really work the CRT TVs. Mm-hmm. You can get some light gun games that use the Wii's motion sensor.
That's right, yeah.
However, they are still a dying breed, so there are some efforts to revive it. I think there's one on Kickstarter at the moment, but light gun games used to enjoy a lot of popularity, kind of like probably like mid 80s to late 90s.
Yeah.
You'll still see them from the 2000s onwards, but they kind of died down a little bit because FPSs, really the 3D FPSs, that are true 3D FPSs, really took off late 90s, and that kind of put a bit of a nail in the coffin. But I had a lot of fun playing this game, which was Time Crisis. In my mind, the best light gun shooter ever.
Yeah, brilliant.
And the reason I say that is because it had, for the time, quite a unique mechanic, which is the cover mechanic. So the only real way to play it is, obviously, you need the light gun. You can't play it with the controller, definitely not. But you also need the pedal attachment as well. And by pressing the foot pedal, you actually spring out from cover. So while you're in cover, none of the enemies on screen can shoot you. But as soon as you pop out, you've got a chance to shoot them quickly and then dash back inside cover, which is a brilliant mechanic. It just really added to the adrenaline rush. You weren't just aiming accurately and quickly, but you also had to time your cover as well, both to reload and actually dodge bullets at the same time. But it's not just that; it's just the design of the game. It was actually it's developed by Namco, and actually one of the producers on the game, Toru Iwatani. He also worked on Ridge Racer, but way before that, he actually invented Pac-Man.
Oh, wow.
So it comes from a quite illustrious developer.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it was just like the cinematic nature of it as well. So right at the beginning of the game, you're kind of like diving inside this enemy base, and there's a submarine in the background, and a few seconds later, the whole submarine is like blowing up and sinking. And then you're on these elevators going down, and there's other enemies on the elevators as well, so you have to kind of like hide behind crates and blow away the bad guys before they shoot you. So it just had this nice cinematic nature that followed through all the way to the end of the game. And other games try, and like games like Virtua Cop get very close to that kind of cinematic nature.
I love
but I think,
Cop.
Yeah, I do too. But I think
Number
Time
2
Crisis
was my favourite.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, I remember the jewelry store scene as well. Yeah, blowing away all the glass cabinets.
That was awesome.
Yeah, idiotic civilians always walked in front of your fire.
They did, yeah. And you used to lose a life, didn't you, if you killed one of them?
Yep, exactly. But
and I like the way that you could. I like the way you could shoot when you got to a certain point in the game. Like when you're in the car, you could shoot the sign which direction you wanted the next part of the next scene to be.
I'd almost forgotten about that. That's right. Yeah. They kind of like takes. It's kind of probably like a nod back to the other Sega arcade game Outrun, where you had to choose your path after every race.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, which was really cool because you were sort of selecting on the fly, and you were like, the replay value there was, I'll go a different route, but they did actually break it into a few routes. You know what I mean? So you could replay the game a few times and experience a different,
And we are kind of like veering off a little bit, but the good thing about Virtua Cop as well, you could actually shoot the guns out of bad guys' hands as well. Which is really cool. Made you feel like an absolute boss.
Yes, I remember that was awesome. Oh yeah, it was such a good game. But
even with all of those cool features of Virtua Cop, I still have to say Time Crisis is my favourite.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
I feel like I nearly convinced Barney to be like, actually, wait.
Nearly.
No. Time Crisis. Time Crisis is in the trash.
Yeah, I'll play both. It's up there. It's probably in the top 5, but yeah, Time Crisis is number 1.
Yeah, solid choice there. I also own Time Crisis with the PS1. The PS1 gun back in the day.
The Gun Con, yep.
Yeah, had many good times on that game. So thank you for your stash. Andy, are you able to give us your stash, please?
I suppose, since you asked so nicely. I do apologise, I'm very tired this evening.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and sound a bit more upbeat when I pitch this game, because it is
I thought you did sound a bit more than usual, to be honest.
Oh, really? It's the cocaine kicking in.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, my stash this week is a game called Echo Generation.
Echo Generation. Is that like Echo the Dolphin?
That's what I was thinking.
It's nothing like Echo the Dolphin. So, I touched on this earlier. I mentioned Luigi and Barney before we started recording. I've got a lot of sort of AAA titles on the go at the moment. and I haven't been very well this week. And the last thing I wanted was to overstimulate my mind, have to be concentrating on fast reaction speeds and heat of the moment and all of that. I wanted to enjoy a nice video game. So I looked on Game Pass. There's Game Pass again, and the kudos for it. And I thought, oh, that looks cool. So basically, Echo Generation is a bit of a trend. If you remember, one of the first stashes I did was a game called The Tourist, which is the voxel style graphics, like pixelated graphics, puzzle adventure game, really sweet, really magical. It looked the same as that. So that's what initially drew me in. Now, is it the same? No. Is it as good? No. But is it good? Yes. So basically, Echo Generation is, if you've ever watched Stranger Things, imagine Stranger Things, that 80s nostalgia, you know, the neon sort of the feel around it, your cafes, your big estate cars, comic books, all that sort of 80s memorabilia and things, along with sort of a Goonies-esque sort of adventure sort of feel to it. And you basically play, you control a couple of siblings and a pet. You can change your pet. It's fundamentally a puzzle adventure game on a turn-based combat mechanic. And it looks really, it is, I think it's age 12. It looks child-friendly, but there is a bit of darkness to it. So there is supernatural, there's aliens, there's child kidnap and entrapment. So there's some
sounds wonderful.
Yeah, Luigi. I wouldn't let Luigi play it.
Yeah,
we know it's not scary though, because how the graphics are presented. But yeah, there are, like I say, one of it. There's lots of. It's linear, but I actually found. Because I've completed it over the past week, and I inadvertently sort of did other storylines before the main storyline. So you have lots of storylines going on at one time, and I think it is designed in a linear fashion, so you level up to appropriate levels for sort of the enemies you face. But I sort of went off beaten track a bit, and it still worked, and it still played out fine. So you have lots of different missions and sort of. It's very investigating. You have to find out the cause for this or the location of that, but it's got a really decent story behind it. So you actually lose yourself in the areas you're exploring, in the characters and things like that. And the story is really solid from start to finish. But it is quite a magical game. It's a really nice indie title. It allowed me to lose myself. It's not a long game. I probably 100%ed it in maybe 7-8 hours, something like that, I'd guess. So it's not a long game, but it's what I needed this week. And the fact that I chose that over all those AAA titles, I've enjoyed it. I stuck it through, start to finish, 100%ed it. And I want to sing its praises. So Echo Generation, it's currently on Game Pass. Like I say, it's got very sort of neon 80s theme sort of graphics to the art. But if you've seen Stranger Things, Goonies, if you like turn-based combat or puzzle adventure games, it's not a long game. Same as a tourist. Throw yourself in it for an hour, and I can sort of guarantee you'll get hooked and you'll want to see it through. And again, for that indie title to have that much pull and that much power over me to choose that over all those other games I've got, speaks volume. So it's not perfect. Some of the combat mechanics, it's quite quirky. So it's not just turn based. You have to do a series of skill things. So matchups, crosshairs, so they match 100%. Sequence of numbers. So there's all different things you have to do to get your critical hit, which is kind of cool. But it does get a bit frustrating towards the end when you're just thinking, "Oh, come on, I can nail this now. I've done it enough times." So, but I like how they did it because it does add a little je ne sais quoi to it.
I'm going to say a lot of what I'm seeing, any criticism seems to be around the combat system.
Okay, it's not bad, but I think people, I don't mind turn-based games. And it was too annoying and too gimmicky for me. However, it's not trying to sell itself as this massive like JRPG turn-based game or something. It's selling itself as a puzzle adventure game, and you do have to, solve those puzzle elements, go from one area to another, collecting bits and pieces, talking to people, and piecing together the clues. The turn-based element. I think they've just tried to then make it a little bit different, and it's not bad. It can just be a bit infuriating.
Yeah.
Because if you level up your, again, I suppose it depends on the player. I'm going into it with a bit of pedigree and experience of those games, so I was leveling up really quick, and you can see the patterns and things like that, and it's not so much of a challenge, and that's where it gets annoying because you're thinking, look, I'm going to smash this. You're just making me jump through hoops. Whereas I suppose if you are new to the genre or you're not that hardcore, then you're going to get a lot more sense of achievement through actually getting those critical hits and things, because you actually are working towards it. So there's pros and cons for it. Again, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, it's just a bit like Marmite. But take that aside, the actual story is really cool, the puzzle elements are really cool. And like I say, it's a light-hearted game, not perfect, but really enjoyed it, and I think it's worth a look. You don't have to invest many hours into it and things like that.
Yeah, nice one.
But yeah, Echo Generation. Not sure whether it's on other platforms, but I just got it for free on the Game Pass.
For free! No, it does look like it's actually Xbox only. Xbox Series X and Series S. Microsoft Windows, so that would be PC, Xbox One. So yeah, seems like Microsoft only title.
Out of curiosity, have any of you guys watched the Stranger Things series?
Yes,
I have indeed.
It is Stranger Things. They have.
It does look like Stranger Things, I think, the adventure game.
Took a huge amount of inspiration from it.
right.
That's no bad thing. That's no bad thing. I can think of a lot of TV shows that would make good material for a video game.
Yeah, and they haven't ripped it off in any way. But the feeling that you get,
it's the atmosphere and the genre.
Correct. They've really done that, considering they've done like the voxel style graphics. It has really got that atmosphere.
I'm guessing what you're saying there, Andy, is if you've watched Stranger Things, you should find enjoyment in this game. Then, yeah.
I think it will play into an interest or a bit of a passion, but I think if you're a fan of the 80s, it will appeal to you. If you're a fan of Stranger Things or the Goonies, it'll appeal to you. But more importantly, if you like your puzzle adventure games, like those games of yesteryear, but with a sharper edge from today's consoles, I think you'll enjoy it because you don't have to commit that much time. And as soon as you start, you're sort of not thrown into it, but you've got that sense of intrigue. And that sense of intrigue actually doesn't lose you. And it's only probably the last 80% where you start thinking, okay, I could start piecing these things together now. And it ties all the stories together, and it's really good. So it's a nicely told story that you actually feel part of rather than being dictated to.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you very much for your stash. So now it's time for our trash. So I'll go first again and just keep it short and sweet. So my trash this week is a game called Conflict Denied Ops. Now,
that was a mouthful.
Yes, so
I thought you were going to say something else then. I thought you were going to say Conflict Desert Storm.
No, hang on, it's from the same developers.
Okay.
So, well, I believe it's from...
That was pretty good.
Yes.
Conflict Desert Storm was good.
This is why Denied Ops is in my trash. Okay. Yeah, so it's made by Pivotal Games. So Pivotal Games did make... So I played all of the previous games. I played Conflict Desert Storm 2, Conflict Vietnam, and Conflict Global War. I played through all of those, completed them, loved them. Split screen co-op was amazing on these games. You and a friend, and you'd both get control of two different characters. And some elements were quite strategic. All round brilliant games. So obviously when I saw, because Conflict Denied Ops was then on the next generation of consoles, the 360 era PS3, I was super excited. Man, was it a letdown. It was just they might as well have not made that game and just left the Conflict games in the past because they were brilliant. So yeah, on that, like I said, Conflict Denied Ops, stick it in the bin. So Sam, can you throw us your trash, please?
Can do. So my trash is a Nintendo Switch game. It's Super Mario Party. So there are actually two Mario Parties that are out on the Switch. The first one that launched was Super Mario Party, and the second one was Mario Party Superstars. Mario Party Superstars came out in October last year, and that's pretty decent. It's basically just a mishmash of all previous Mario Parties that date right back to like the Nintendo 64, and they've taken like the boards, the mini games, and kind of jumbled them up into one game. And can't fault it because it brings back some nostalgia. Really good game. But Super Mario Party,
typical Nintendo using all their past crap. Go on.
True. But you say that, but it, you know.
No, I know.
They went with new crap with this Super Mario Party, and
yeah,
I was really disappointed, to be honest. Because I was really like, you know, I've always liked Super Mario, a Mario Party game. Majority of them are pretty solid usually. There were a couple on the GameCube that weren't that great, and I think maybe Mario Party 3 on the N64 wasn't as good as, say, Mario Party 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, they're normally pretty safe bets, you know, when they come out. And I thought, you know what, with Super Mario Party being the kind of first one to come onto the Switch, I had some high hopes for it. Thought, you know, they will push the boat out, but it was pretty lame. Like, you know, the boards were boring. The mini games were not that great either. The content was pretty limited, and the big thing that I was hoping for was the online feature, so I could start playing online with obviously other people around the world and friends. They did have an online mode, but it was just more of a... It's just a massive fail, basically. It just did not work. It was so laggy. And it was just a mess. So, yeah, Super Mario Party in the trash. Would not recommend buying it, but would recommend buying Mario Party Superstars. So that seems to be a much more polished, improved game. Although it's recycled stuff from other games, you kind of know what you're getting, and yeah, it's obviously all upscaled with the new graphics, and the online side is much more smooth as well.
Oh, so the Mario Party Superstars has online and it works okay, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know whether Super Mario Party is now runs a bit better. I haven't played it for so long because it's just not really. I don't really want to be going back and playing it. Although I still probably won't sell it, but
because we've got Super Mario Party, obviously the first one that came out on the Switch, and you know, just as us as a family of four, we do quite enjoy that sometimes.
I think for me, because I've played all the other ones, and I kind of I know the level of, in terms of content, creativity, like the boards, the fun elements, and all that. I see it as,
you compare it to all of those. To them,
it's just not great. I suppose if you're
enough.
you've not really delved into it much, and that's kind of your first go-to, then you're probably going to think it's pretty cool. But coming from just from experience and of playing the others, I personally would not recommend buying that. Especially now that there's Mario Party Superstars. If you had to choose between the two, I'd definitely go for the Superstars. So, that's in the trash for me.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that, Sam. Barnaby, can we have your trash, please?
You can indeed, yeah. So continuing on the theme of PlayStation 1 light gun games, the game I decided to trash is Time Crisis Project Titan, which is a sequel to the PS1 port, released about 4 years after the original. But what the first game got... everything that the first game got right, this game got wrong. So it's still the same mechanics, still the same gameplay, but it's just a lot blander, a lot more generic, a lot more forgettable. So this one is set aboard a boat rather than an island base. And you'd think there would be some opportunities for cool cutscenes, but there aren't really. Most of the gunfights are quite generic in comparison to the first game. So where the first game was constantly changing scenes, constantly changing locations, and had some really sort of cinematic set pieces. You don't get that with Project Titan. And it just it is kind of like the sort of cynical, low budget poor quality cache-in, and the developer as well, rather than being developed by Namco themselves, it was shipped out to a company called Flying Tiger Entertainment, and they've never done anything of note other than port Kerbal Space Program to console.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So that's
that's going in the trash. It's a bad sequel.
That definitely sounds like it's worthy of the trash. Thank you very much for that, Barnaby. Andy, can we have your trash, please?
You can. I don't know whether... I think Barney will know of this one, but hopefully you and Sam do as well. Bit of an old one. Again, taking me back to my Mega CD days.
Oh.
But the reason I've done it is whoever's in charge and responsible decided to re-release this more recently on sort of PC, PlayStation 4, Switch, etc. Probably 3-4 years ago or something. It never needed a re-release. The first one was shit enough. You just did not need to bring this up from the past.
You're not talking about Bubsy, are you?
But we're not. No, this is a game called Night Trap.
Night
Trap.
That's...
So, Night Trap is a full motion video game, originally released on the Mega CD, I believe. That's when I had it anyway.
It was
one of the games back in the day that got a lot of criticism, along with the likes of sort of Mortal Kombat, because of aggression, unnecessary aggression in games. But it also added sexual
hilariously.
We've spoken on this before.
We have done, yeah. So it added sexual assault towards women into the mix as well, because when violence is enough. But
it sounds bad, but there's actually very little of anything. It's comedic.
The acting is abysmal.
Well, that's because the budget was non-existent as well. So basically, the bad guys they're supposed to be aliens, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, but they look like ninjas.
Well, no, they're basically guys in gorilla suits, but with stockings over their heads.
It is as bad as it sounds. But the actual plot of it, I shit you not, is you're effectively like a special agent, a secret agent or something, tasked with monitoring a house or a house's CCTV cameras whilst a bunch of girls have a sleepover. So that in itself is a bit fucking creepy for the plot of a video game. But that is genuinely the plot. So you have to flick between X amount of cameras, I forget how many there is across the house. You've already set up traps in each of these rooms. So you have to be able to spot, you're watching girls have a pillow fight or having a chat with their mates or whatever, and you might spot something, at the window, or you might spot someone lurking in the hallway. And from what I can remember, there's some sort of gauge where you had to wait for it to be in a certain area, and you had to trigger the trap. And if you do that, you successfully trigger like Barney says, the ape with a stocking over his head, which is an alien. So that is the pretense of the game, but it was just executed so poorly. Is it budget? Yes. Did it really need that game ever creating? Was there a gap in the market? No. It's just one of those odd games.
Conceptually, it's a good idea because scrap the FMV because that was rubbish. It was way too early for video games to be using FMV. But if you did it as a video game, then there could have been a lot of strategy there if you'd implemented it in a different way. Made it more like almost like a tactics RPG. So you're setting your traps.
On the strategy,
you're watching the movements. You're watching the movements of these aliens, and then you're triggering them at the right time. So done correctly, it could have been a good game. But unfortunately,
they went too far on the gimmicks with the
they went too far, exactly.
The poor acting, with the B movie feel and things like that. But a lot of the games, to be fair, back then they were dipping their toes in the F&B. Like you had Mad Dog McGree and Dragon's Lair and
Road Avenger.
There was actually one on the Mega CD that is really bad. I actually enjoyed it. It's probably shit, called Ground Zero Texas, and that was FMV, and I actually enjoyed playing that on the Mega CD. But I think that's where the Mega CD, one of its unique selling points was. Obviously, the differential between that and the Mega Drive was, hey, we're going to play full motion video. And I think developers are trying to overcompensate. And again, sometimes strip it back and go for the actual
technologically,
quality.
It was dead end. When 3D graphics arrived on the scene properly, then the FMV already had its days numbered, I think.
I think my main gripe of why it's going in the trash is, let sleeping dogs lie. They tried something. It could have forever been in cult memory, But why in God's name did they feel like doing a re-release across various platforms? I can't imagine there was a group of fans saying, re-release it, we want 4K Night Trap. I can't see where the logic is for them to have done that. And that's the bit, just on that principle, why it's going in the trash.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is important to preserve games because it was so controversial at the time. And there's no real reason to. I think anybody sort of. I haven't played it, but I've looked at quite extensive reviews of the game because it has become this kind of like cult thing. And there's actually very little. I mean, it sounds seedy in places, but actually, there's very little. It's PG all the way through, as far as I'm aware.
That's the thing as well. That's my gripe. I was a teenager when I brought this, or I was just becoming a teenager. I was at the height of my hormones. I got missold because I wanted more than PG. I saw
exactly.
It thinking, hello, I'm going to get some titty shots in this episode.
Exactly.
My mum doesn't know what's on it. She's buying me these video games.
Perfect for the one-handed gamer.
Exactly. And I felt undersold. I was like, come on, you're not delivering on the nip. And that in itself, leaves a sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, thank you for that. Do you know what? I think I'm going to check that out because it seems
you're going to go get the re-release, aren't you?
No, because
your stash game next week.
No, because I can't quite understand because I can see the quote unquote bad guys, but then I can also see that there's something to do with vampires.
No vampires in it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they're not. They're aliens. They're not vampire.
Well, I'm seeing here. There's a female with like a purple sort of. I don't know what they're called. Vesty.
I think they are They're not. I think they might drink blood to survive. I'm having a flashback. They're not vampires like Avon to suck your blood, like flying and fangs and that.
Well, if you look at the picture I'm looking at of the front cover, you can very clearly see 3 people there with their mouths open and fangs in their mouths.
Not what I remember.
No?
You remember that, Barney?
I'm having a look now.
Yeah, it seems that's just what's throwing me off because I'm seeing the in-game stuff, like the ninja-looking sort of bad guys. But
to be fair, I never completed it for obvious reasons. So it might be the case of maybe the top of the hierarchy were vampires. Maybe the plot thickened, but I got as far as just flicking through the cameras and trying to capture the guys in boiler suits and like stockings over their heads.
I'm just sending. I've just sent an image in our Discord general chat.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, there is definitely some people trying to suck blood in that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So yeah, like you said, it might just be the case that you may not have got to that point within the game.
I just thought, girls having a pajama party, and that's why I brought the game.
Once you realised that there was no nudes available, you switched it off, I reckon.
Exactly. There's plenty of other games at the time to deliver on my needs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's certainly, if you can get hold of it for free, then give it a play. It's obviously not going to hold up to current times, but effectively you're flicking through a load of CCTV that's set up around the house. You're eavesdropping and sort of quite voyeuristic looking into the rooms of when a party's going on with a girl and all her mates in a big fancy house, and you've got to identify when someone's creeping in, set the trap at the right time, and so forth.
Yeah,
and that is the whole pretense of the game.
Well, thank you very much for your trash. So,
oh yeah, they are. Apparently, they're called augurs, vampiric beings that need blood to survive.
So
I think I misremembered the augurs as aliens.
Okay.
Oh, I thought they were aliens as well. They bloody look like it.
Well, yeah, there we are.
But then, what didn't they look like? I'm looking at one now. It looks like a Ghostbuster in a black suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you going to call?
Very odd looking. So yeah, that's Night Trap in the trash. So
I'm just going to send across a photo of why I brought it.
Oh, go on. Let's have a look.
Let's have a look.
Well, whilst that's been sent over, anybody at home listening, if you would like to email us and let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our stash or trashes, or just want to pop by and say hi and introduce yourself to us here at Luigi's Gaming Lounge, you can do so by emailing us at luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. That's luigisgaminglounge@gmail.com. So let's have a look. Andy, have you sent this image through?
The WhatsApp group.
There's so many pixels there, you can't...
But you get the idea. So there's a girl looking into a mirror
Yeah.
with a nice little sort of negligee on, and you can see a creepy silhouette in the background. I was hoping to see a nip shot before I trapped that silhouette. But the nip shot never happens.
I mean, the silhouettes are actually a lot more scarier, really. When they're actually not in silhouette, they are crap.
Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap that up here. So thank you very much for listening at home, and again, you guys for being here with me on the podcast this evening. Thank you very much.
No worries.
That's episode 44 done and dusted. So we obviously ran through some what we saw at State of Play yesterday, the 9th of March 2022. Still feels weird saying 2022. But anyway, guys.
Have 23 soon.
Yeah, it will. It won't be long. Blimey, soon be Christmas. Have a good week, guys, and we will see you in episode 45. Take care. Peace. Bye.
See you
later.
Bye.